legacy legislative racism. And my job is to help even the scales and bring us back to balance for the populations that are out here in Bayview. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Delilah, would you like to go?
Yeah, hi. I'm Delilah Adofo. I'm with Green Action for Health and Environmental Justice. I am the air monitoring project coordinator from the big AB 617 grant that we, along with Pledge and Baby Home Advocates, Mothers and Fathers Committee, got. I grew up in East Palo Alto, California, all my life. As I'm not a resident of Bayview, I did grow up in a care community with environmental issues. I worked with Youth United for Community Action from 12 to 18, went to college, and now I'm here. The reason why I care for Baby Hunters Point is I have family in Baby Hunters Point, and from a site visit from Yuka a long time ago, the amount of environmental injustice in Bayview is pretty outstanding, and it pretty much fueled me as a young age, like, we need to deal with it. And so it's kind of cool coming back full circle as an adult, to be able to work in your community and try to help it the best way that I can. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Anthony?
Hey, greetings, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I got my headset on. I'm real pleased to be here. This is very 21st century, and that's what it takes for these timeless topics. I was asked to join this panel, and I really want to give some gratitude to One Bayview. My name is Anietie Ekanem, and I work with Literacy for Environmental Justice, otherwise known as LEDGE. We were born and founded in the Bayview since 1998. I've been with them since about that time, and we've been addressing the ecological and health concerns of specifically Bayview Hunters Point in the greater Southeast since that time, in an organized fashion. I want to give ultimate respect to the genesis of this movement. You know, we're often referred to our neighborhood as a case study for environmental justice and a point of reference. And I think this forum allows us an opportunity to, one of the things you were asking, Anietie, was what motivates us. Is this shows that we're alive, we're breathing, this is dynamic, this is current. And in regards to air quality monitoring and air quality issues, that's something that has always been a topic since our neighborhood was founded by the newcomers and based on the first peoples of this area. So air quality has shifted, but we know that it is disproportionately impacting our neighborhood and residents of the greater Southeast. Just in conclusion with my intro, in particular, I work with young folks just like Delilah and Ms. Michelle, and education is so powerful in our work. So it's not just being organized, but it's education. And a quote that I always think about in regards to how we address our air quality is everyone can see it, breathe it. We know there's something going on, but when you're told it, you know, you forget it. When you are taught it, you just might remember it. But when you are involved in this situation, when you're a part of it, where you can come to forums, where you can seek guidance, where you can actually have direct action, that's when we learn and do something about it. So that's what really motivates myself to work with these fine people and members of our community to address these matters.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And my first question is actually going to be to you, Michelle, as my cursor kept sort of moving forward. And would either Anthony or Delilah like to sort of talk about sort of the air quality piece? Like, why is this so important to us, especially in the Bayview?
I guess I can go. air quality is extremely important in Bayview because it's so impacted through the construction, through the countless amount of diesel trucks that come in, through concrete batch plants, or Darling International, who has had many complaints on that have been filed on Ivan in terms of the air smells horrible coming out of that plant. There's just so many industry kind of congested here, and which inadvertently affects the air. There's no way it can't. And then you have on top of that, through zoning, which blows my mind, you have residential literally across the street. And so in terms of dealing with government entities, we've been yelling and screaming, and the community's been yelling and screaming, like, hello, like, our asthma rates are high, probably cancer rates are high, like, our people are sick. And unfortunately, it seems to fall on deaf ears. I think some people get it, but it, like where's the change? Like, there's the PG&E plant got shut down, cool, but that's like, where are we at?
Where are we headed?
And so, yeah, where are we headed? What are the solutions that are coming out of the kicking and screaming? And that's what's not transparent, at least to me, in terms of what's being done. So for this the community air monitoring project will at least provide us with community-owned data that to essentially prove in numbers what the community has been kicking and screaming about. To me, that is actually kind of ridiculous that we have to do all that. But I think it will only help the movement, and it will only help the community, have a resource that says, hey, like, we haven't just been kicking and screaming for no reason. Like, here's the data, here's the hard pressed data. You don't have any excuse to not do anything, or to stretch it out, or to, not be transparent about what you're doing. So that, to me, is why air monitoring is important, and air quality is an issue in Bayview.
Awesome. How about you, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to kind of tie in a couple of points that Delila and Michelle brought up. When we're going back to what we're talking about biomonitoring and breaking down those words, monitoring life. And another word that I think about with that is bioindications. And I'm a trained scientist. My background's in wetland ecology, and we look at certain indications of health of ecosystems. And just like Delila was saying, for many years, the health studies, the disproportionate rates of certain afflictions that is showing up in our population, specifically in the Southeast. That scientific mind really wants us to scratch beyond just what we know and what we've been saying. So yes, we can gather data, and that is part of the solution. But really, what you kept on hearing a lot from us, including myself, is what is the type of land use that surrounds us, and what are some of the aspects that we all share? As we all know, organizing around certain topics in our community can be very challenging. But what are the few that we all share? And we do share our environment. In particular, we share the benefits of having some amazing open space and access to the bay. But at the same time, it's impacted by some of the most industrial pieces of land in all of San Francisco, and keeping in mind that we are still seeing this redevelopment happening that is urbanizing even more parcels of land, again, impacting our health. So what I wanted to say is this project seeks to not only understand the social landscape of our community, but of course, how that ties in with the land use and the built environment. And when this is born on this legacy work, you start seeing that we can enhance our efforts to address these impacts. What I mean by that is having the ability to us, people who live, work, play, and pray in the neighborhood, to collect that data is much more distinct than anything we've ever seen, because we understand how statistics and how departments can sometimes keep that data away from creating action. So really, I hope that we see a shift there.
I'm chiming in. This is Michelle. So where are you guys? By the way, I was an original partner on this project. I'm taking a step back because my organization is so busy right now. But I do want to check in for community members who maybe were unaware of this project or just hearing about it now. Where are you guys right now? What's going on with this project? If you don't mind weighing in on that.
I'll kick us off a little, huh, Dalila? I mean, if we could just talk about what's going on, is really, it's moving in the direction of not only getting to the point where we're going to start gathering data, but having the technical background, getting organized internally, bringing together an intergenerational steering committee to come together and give counsel where actually this project needs to head. To head and develop. Now, ultimately, just to back up a little, our goal is to have stationary air monitors to not only collect and record the certain particulate matter and analyze. From there, we can analyze what is in the air. But having this continuously collected in the hands, that takes a lot to get to, and that's where we're at right now. Just a couple ask on behalf of the community is, for one, we're in a current search of hiring, so we're creating jobs with this project. See, when people say, well, what do you mean by green collar jobs? What do you mean by a green collar workforce development? Here's one of those jobs, which is technicians who could potentially maintain, monitor these air quality monitoring sensors, which I can't speak too much on. I'm learning. I'm not an airhead. I'm not an airhead like certain folks in whether it be Michelle and Dalila to another extent, but myself, I have a different background, and this is where we share. But creating this, these are modest jobs. Some of them are contract work. But as we develop those further, we're able to kind of centralize this power within the neighborhood, within the region, and that ultimately relates to this forum that I was speaking about. This is my next update and a request is we are currently searching for, I believe, up to 2 seats. Dalila maybe can confirm that, but 2 seats with the community steering committee, which we recently renamed in honor, of course, of the recent passing of our environmental justice Shiro, Ms. Marie Harrison, as we all want to give respect to. Maybe Dalila, if you want to share a little bit more about the steering committee and perhaps even the renaming of that project to show that we are going through that transition of losing one of the most instrumental Shiros and environmental justice leaders in our neighborhood, along with the recent passing, of course, Ms. Tessie Esther, and the other passing just preceding her with, of course, Mrs. Espanola Jackson. So when we think about this legacy of strong, fierce, righteous Black women in our neighborhood that we've lost only in the last 5 years, it puts a lot of onus on cohorts like this and the work that we do to make it that much more relevant and powerful.
Yeah, so the steering committee, we do have 2 positions on the steering committee open. We are trying to the best of our ability, get intergenerational, interracial members of the steering committee. We understand that, Bayview, is not only Black, there's Latinas, there's a good Asian population. And we want to get as many as much diversity as possible to really represent Bayview Hunters Point. Yeah, the steering committee was all in favor, and actually one of our members suggested after Murray Harrison passed that we name the entire project the Murray Harrison Air Monitoring Project, and we went and just headed and did that in honor of her, because I know that she inspired me while she was living, and she definitely inspires me as she made her transition. And I would only hope that I would be just as fierce as Murray Harrison. And so we definitely take her spirit with us as we continue to do this work. The goal of the project is to get 10 stationary air monitors at least, Bayview Hunters Point. Hope we can get more. And the role of the steering committee is to actually choose those sites. And so we have been looking this entire time, kind of, forming a cohesive team, but also looking at wind patterns. We have to look at wind patterns in Bayview Hunters Point to see where the air flows, where the pollution flows. The stationary air monitors, they measure particulate matter 2.5, which is anything between dust, small particles. But the danger of that is that it's so small that it can actually enter your lungs and get into your respiratory system. So that is what we're focusing on.
That sounds actually really amazing, because so for example, like a really personal example, I live right across from MLK at the 5800, and anyone who's on the 3rd Street side of the buildings, like when they go and like open their windows, it's black soot like all along, like their windowsills, right? And it's because Muni's there. On the other side of the building where I live, we get black soot because we are actually close to one co-location facility, right? They have diesel generators that don't go on all the time, right? And they don't add anything to our air quality. But we're sitting there going, look, we have Muni, we have the highway, we have this diesel thing sort of going in, and yet when we were talking to planning about, hey, why is there another one going in, right? Oh, it's under the threshold. But we're sitting there going, I can't just breathe one thing's air, right? It's all about the things coming together. And so we were literally stuck going, WTF around this. We literally can go to our cars, to all this other stuff. And this is just one example in the Bayview, right? So, I'd love to sort of hear more, maybe from you, Anthony, and Michelle, about sort of that historical perspective, because I know for a fact, right? Just talking a little bit to Michelle, who's told me about both of you, that this has been sort of a fight to get to this point. Can you share a little bit more about that? Because living in the Bayview, I'm sitting here going, this would make complete sense. Why? I almost want to go, why is it taking so long, right? And so, yeah, so I'd love to hear sort of that from you all.
Anthony can definitely speak to how the grant came to be and stuff like that. I just came on as the coordinator in January, so I don't know necessarily the history of how the grant happened and what was needed to even push for that. However, I was completely shocked that there is only one air monitor in the whole of San Francisco in general.
Oh.
Yes. That completely blew my mind, and it still blows my mind that there's no air monitors in Bayview at all. And even with that one air monitor, some of the challenges that we have had while I've been on this project is that the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, BACMD, will not let anybody use that air monitor. So they will not give us access to calibrate or co-locate our air monitors to that air monitor.
Why?
That is the $1,000,000 question.
I have their bullshit answer. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I need to stop cursing. But no, I have the official answer. I should not call it the official answer to that question is, in fact, if they allowed us to calibrate against that machine, they would have to allow body to. So this is the federally supplied reference monitor for the Bay Area. In other words, there is one reference monitor for the entire 9 counties of the Bay Area, and it is in that dog patch mission corridor. And they don't allow anybody access to it, because if they did, they would have to allow all the community organizations in the Bay Area access to it. Why is there only one in the entire Bay Area that all air quality readings are measured off of? Which, after this whistleblower thing that's going on with SACMED right now, we know that it's not the only one, but it is the official reference. So that's that. Sorry, keep going, Dalila. I did know the answer to that one.
No, thank you. Yeah, so it's, it's challenging when, and from my perspective, just working on this for about 6 months, it's challenging when, yes, we do get this opportunity to do this project. However, resources are not accessible to do so.
Interesting.
If I can interject here, I'm going to do something that I normally don't do, and give it a little dose of optimism here.
Yes.
I've been doing this for quite some time. Working with the public and around these important matters. And one thing that's always the same is just how baffled we are with the oversight, the neglect, the inequities around protecting the public health and wellness of our neighborhood. And Dalila, both you and Michelle really highlight the fact that this is a known issue. Data has been collected for decades, and it usually has been provided by, in particular, residents and citizens. So,
Right.
one of the earlier slides that was brought up was it was a great picture, just looking at the juxtaposition of all the different types of land uses in our neighborhood. Urbanized land, residential, industrial, parklands, and this is one of the only areas in our beautiful 7x7 that you see these just smashed together. And where it really has impacted our neighborhood and of course residents the most is certain industrial sites. At one point, over I would say well over 320 was registered, as well as the remaining unregulated and unregistered that you were talking about, Anietie. It's how do we know what's going on? How does one happen and then 10 more happen? So that's what I'm talking about, inequity. But I want to draw us back to that picture, and we saw that power plant. We understood it stood there for 80 years, since the 20s, and the neighborhood, righteously, organized by leadership, both individuals that we mentioned earlier today, and as well as folks who just said enough is enough. So we were successful in the mid-2000s to decommission that power plant, which was only one of those 300 plus sites with registered toxins in the neighborhood. And yet that was because there was an effort there of a bucket brigade. Literally, folks coming out, partnering with other environmental organizations that might have a little bit more technical know-how, such as, more of a Bay Area based. And we pulled together to actually collect data in rudimentary sampling. And so where I said I'm going to do some kind of a little bit out of my character and be optimistic, to know that's where we came from putting, our lives on the line, collecting that data, being exposed in the front lines, being a frontline community. That's all we have done. So where we've kind of evolved to say, okay, well, we understand there's been some opening of funding through these entities, such as we're throwing around terms like BACMed, which is Bay Area Air Quality Management District. And then there's the larger statewide, we can call them, entities that oversee the health, the air quality, which is California Air Resource Board. So being that there's sometimes up to millions of dollars that's afforded for emissions reductions, what is the benefit at the community level? So yeah, this project has kind of been born in the last 5 years or so, but it has been built on the pressure and all that we've advocated over the last decades around saying data should be in the hands of the community. And then once we do collect it and understand it more, then we understand what we can do to not only reverse it and reduce it, but here's the other R, which is reparations. Because for too long we have been impacted by these burdens, and by this project will not only daylight those impacts and what they are, and something that we call in pollution sciences, where's the point sources of these? And when we can't find them, we understand that we can now rule out certain instances. So whether it's a long-term history or the legacy that has helped us create this project today, we need much more than that to bring it forward, knowing that we're just kind of scratching the surface, and it took about roughly 2 decades worth of advocating to these governmental agencies that enough is enough. So that's shocking to me, and by no means, Michelle, I understand your fury and rage, and that's why just how personal it is to us to understand that how can this happen when we've been saying the same thing. So I want to pass
No,
it over.
you're absolutely right. That's like, we do need to highlight our wins, because we have been making some great wins. And you brought in, I think, the history that Anietie was looking at in terms of the cumulative impacts report and the top 6 indexes, and how we leverage those community efforts to actually get some movement going to close down some PG&E plants, some other plants around the neighborhood, right? And can you talk a little bit more about Ledge's role in the PG&E plant and maybe the Eco Center as well?
Yeah, I mean, real briefly, because I know I've been saying a few things, but it's really, we're talking a lot about shutting down, and really, I think something that we all really care about is how do we build up, what is generative out of this project?
Yeah.
And something that it is generating is the actual oversight of the new project. Something that I'm sure with other One Bayview topics that we all should be talking about is how we're living through the largest redevelopment since the early 1900s, even more than the 1950s in the Fillmore. The largest redevelopment is impacting our shoreline, our neighborhood, from, of course, the old ballpark to the new ballpark, as you always hear me say. And as someone who grew up going to Giants games, I couldn't afford the 49ers games, but going to Giants games and knowing that, things disappear in a blink of an eye, and sometimes get built in a blink of an eye. So what is the oversight? We want to talk about another victory. That stadium was proposed to be imploded in a residential neighborhood, Candlestick Stadium. And something that we as a community had to say is, we're much more than just a stadium, the Candlestick community, and Anietie being right by there, that would impact your quality of life, and it still does, though, knowing that the trucks that go by, the decommissioning of that area? What is the oversight? So creating a culture of oversight, and maybe if answer Michelle's question, what has an organization like Ledge done about it is what is the generative work that can happen beyond saying this is wrong, we need to fix it, but to create tangible solutions such as these living spaces, like reclaiming landfill and turning it into wetlands, reclaiming brownfields, and creating, you know, really forward-thinking built structures that are public-based. These are some of the urban greening design that can be factored into, of course, our new development, but also how does it benefit existing residents so that it reduces, of course, not only gentrification, the negative side of you know, the new gentry, like impacts on existing community, but really honoring that legacy by retaining and not displacing those legacy residents. So you know, really, you know, through the work of education, and not only that, but actual capital projects to kind of bring a little bit of balance within this period of development for the next 20 years. This is a chance that we have to inform it, you know, because things do get built in a blink of an eye and at the pace of business sometimes. So the more that we have data, the more that we're organized, and the more we understand how it impacts our lives, not only now, but decades to come, it might prompt folks who might not feel as compelled right now.
Yeah. Dalila, thank you so much for that, Anthony. And Dalila, I wanted to ask you, so you began talking about sort of like the next steps. So there's a steering committee, and there are, can you sort of talk a little bit more? So you've been there for 6 months, I guess. What I'm asking you for is, you know, in the next 6 months, what would you like to see happen?
In the next 6 months, the steering committee will definitely choose the sites. What we're gonna do before that happens is have a community workshop so that we get more community input. We realize that the steering committee, you know, represents Bayview, but we want more input in that. Hopefully we can figure out with our technical partners the wind patterns and things like that, so we can inform the community and the steering committee about what that looks like and how that impacts where we choose the sites. You know, ideally I would love if the 10 air monitors were up by, you know, the end of this year. You know, that might be a challenge with hosts and paperwork and blah blah blah. But
so you have enough money though, like for the 10, right? It's not one of those things where it's 10 on paper and they're going to come back and go, oh no, sorry, we can only put 3 in.
No, we have they're bought. We have them. Cool. They're here. And actually, early August, in a couple weeks, we're going to have one of our partners that is in Imperial Valley called Comité Cívico de Valle. One of them is going to come up and train, hopefully, an air technician and the steering committee about how to install, build, maintenance the air monitors. So it's definitely, the project is definitely moving forward. We're also working with our other technical partners, Tracking California, to figure out how to work around this calibration co-location thing. There's options. So, you know, that's not, I didn't mean for it to come off like that's a complete derailment, because it's not.
Oh, no. It wasn't taken that way, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the project is full steam ahead. And if anything, we're just trying to organize some more to get more community input, so that, you know, when we're done, the community feels like, you know what, we were a part of this, or at least we had the opportunity to be a part of this. It's not like they just threw it up and didn't ask nobody.
Yeah.
If I could just also add real quick is, you know, when we're thinking about next steps, it's really, these are so important, these steps now. We're kind of forming our rhythm and our culture as a steering committee. And I want to really acknowledge that just the fact that we've had these monthly regular meetings where folks taking, Michelle was mentioning and Delita, it's intergenerational, it's diverse, it's representative, it kind of really looks at all those values that we all really hold high and put it into action. So we have been meeting regular, but something that we haven't mentioned as much is how this ties into our other monthly forum of environmental justice, which is the Environmental Justice Task Force.
Yeah.
Which many of us, and maybe, I like other folks to chime in here on that, but understanding how do we leverage both of these platforms, being that the monthly Environmental Justice Task Force meetings, which are held either at Radio Africa Kitchen or, of course, at the 1800 Oakdale Southeast Center City College campus. How do we really leverage those platforms to take our data, take our concerns and our successes straight to our decision makers and some of those entities that are making some really long-term and important decisions within our city government, our city infrastructure, and knowing that it's housed in our neighborhood. That really does matter. So, if folks maybe Michelle, if you want to talk about how potentially a project like this could raise not only the impact of the EJ Task Force, but maybe take us in a direction that gives us like a more concentrated effort around demands or just getting organized, get into a rhythm. What have you seen?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Just before I get into that, Dalila, I want to circle back to asking you about your technical consultants on this project, because I think that also is truly groundbreaking in terms of uplift and community and environmental justice. So a little background, and it's funny that you threw this at me, Anthony, a little background on the Environmental Justice Task Force, which meets every third Wednesday of the month, because you're the one who got me started going to these things, right? You led and Green Action are founding members of our Environmental Justice Task Force. It was originally set up as a forum where kind of to build a partnership or a bridge with the various community members and governmental entities responsible for actually monitoring, regulating, and enforcing around environmental issues, all could meet up in the same place and lend each other the kind of support needed to make a real and lasting change. So it's part of the statewide IVEN network, and it revolves around any kind of pollution controls and pollution reporting that's happening in the neighborhood. So anytime you see illegal dumping, anytime you see or smell bad smells in the air, or the air looks funny, or the water looks funny, or any kind of pollution, any kind of emission that is not supposed to be there, this was the forum wherein we have a digital platform for Bayview Hunters Point, and you could go in and report whatever you were noticing happening. And those government agencies were responsible once a month to show up and in front of the entire community actually say, this is what this pollution piece is, this is how it is supposed to be taken care of, and here's what we did to fix it, right? That's the concept of the Environmental Justice Task Force. What's really groundbreaking is some of our other IVEN network communities actually have set up, they have their own air monitoring programs, and they've set up this thing called IVEN Air, which tags onto this pollution reporting system. And you can see in real time what's going on their monitors in this IVEN website subsidiary, IVEN Air. So if everybody is all of a sudden getting asthma attacks, you can go right to this website and see oh, that's because this particular area had a spike in I don't know what. And because that's automatic with this air quality program, the Air District, the Air Resources Board, who both attend somewhat, the Health Department, DTSC, our partners with the wastewater treatment plant, all of them have to show up and justify why we're seeing this thing that we saw in real time based on this monitoring project, right? So thank you for pulling that up. And I understand, I'll let Dalila speak to this as well, that we are in the process of updating this portal. The user interface is going to be dramatically different as we move forward. But yeah, that's the beauty of, number one, this IVAN system, which allows everybody to circumvent the 311 system and actually put the follow-up in the hands of community members and not the city, who sometimes shows up and sometimes doesn't. But also to have a forum where we can absolutely hold government accountable directly, right? We can go directly to the agencies responsible for cleaning this stuff up and saying, what have you done about this? Because it's here. So that's an amazing forum. And then I do want to circle back to what I was saying, which was, Dalila, can you more fully talk about the consulting partners on your air monitoring program? Because basically what the consultants are actual environmental justice community group like us, right, that has been in this place for long enough that they have published papers, they understand controlling their data, and they have done amazing things to the point where their air districts in Southern California partner with them to do the air district's job. And I think that's revolutionary. And then you have a state agency who has taken a former lead youth, right, and has made that one of the coordinators for this project from the state side. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think it's just amazing.
Yes, so our partners, Comité Cívico del Valle, CCV, are out of Imperial Valley, which is, Southern California. And they have done an amazing job with their air monitoring program. They are really the template that we're working off of. They, installed air monitors, did all the research, outreach work, even we had a youth academy this summer that helped us pilot air monitor. So we had portable air monitors and walked around Bayview and wrote down readings and stuff like that. That template for even that academy, they have already done. Like Michelle said, they have published papers. They and Tracking California came up with a whole guide for installing air monitors in your community, and just basically how they did it step by step. Suggestions for certain things. So they have been absolutely instrumental in getting us started and helping us, because I do have a science background, but not air necessarily. I went to school for chemistry, which is a little related, but not, air science is, I need to go back to master's for that. I need to go to graduate school. So yeah, they're amazing, and they're, like I said, they're coming out to help train us on how to put these air monitors together, how to install them, how to maintenance them, and they will also, they're pretty much the ones that like admin run the IVAN website. So there's a whole bunch of IVANs. There's IVAN for Imperial Valley, there's IVANs for different communities, and then we have an IVAN for Bayview Hunters Point. And so we're working with them to update that interface, as well as once we have the air monitors installed and we get the data flowing, our hopes is that will connect to Ivan as well.
Cool.
So
Yeah, you know, we've been throwing around a lot of acronyms, and just to
Yeah,
remind everybody that Ivan is the identifying violations affecting our neighborhood. So when we're thinking about violations, you know, really seeing that there's the micro and macro, and the more and more we record these and talk about them and then ask about them, hopefully we can start seeing some change about them. And
hmm,
you know, so that's the theory, okay, and how we apply it is how much energy the community, and thank goodness we have a backbone organization like Green Action, you know, and like their fans that surround them, like, you know, Ledge and you know, advocates, and you know, all the you know, a bunch of other groups who understand that we have to really fill in when needed. But what I wanted to say in the beginning, Delila was mentioning that, you know, we come from a care community, and care are
right,
neighborhoods or regions of the management district, which is referred to as communities at risk. Okay. And it might, you know, we might get desensitized, and, you know, oh yeah, we come from a care community, and we all hear these catchy little sayings, but really when we start breaking down, what are we at risk of? And when we understand
right.
that the risk is acutely hazardous, and for folks who did not study chemistry like Dalila, you know, like myself, this chemistry is a hard one. Acutely hazardous means just a little bit is a big issue. Just a little bit impacts our health a lot. And so, you know, I'd ask a lot, and Nita and others, like, well, you know, with all that's going on in the neighborhood, with all that's going on in our world, you know, why you got time for this? You know, like, how do you, why do you think this project works or these forums work? Because I believe in trust in each other. You know, I believe in our neighborhood. I believe in the power of us learning things together, okay, and not just trying to tell each other how to do it. But, you know, that's where a forum like a committee comes in. And even though it can be a little bumpy and painful, and that's expected, I know that the integrity is there to understand that we're learning this together, but we're at a point where we're not just, you know, a lot of us have graduated. A lot of us, it's not just brain drain where someone goes, you know, to the East Coast, or someone like Michelle would, you know, you got your credentials outside of the state, but you came back home.
Right.
And I really want to give respect for folks who understand our social obligations to our neighborhood. This is one way to do so. So folks who do have those credentials, we have so many folks who have that academic background in our neighborhood. Look at what you're doing, Anietie, with your background, trying to, you know, organize on this forum with your background. I really want to highlight those folks and give them alternate means to offer their services, offer your insights, and you know, as One Bayview has done it, I think this project is also related in that way, to understand that we need all these different specialized forces, kind of like, you know, a little bit Transformers, you know, we come together, and or Power Rangers, whatever, for the folks who are a little younger, you know. But when we come together and we make this really impactful, you know, kind of well-oiled demand, you know, and that's a full package. You know, I don't want to call us a machine because there's so much life at stake here. And even though it gets caught up in chemical equations, you know, we start breaking them down, CH4, and we call it in science COX, NOx, and SOx, CO2, nitrous dioxide, sulfur dioxide. COX, NOx, and SOx.
Right.
That sounds catchy, but those impact our health. They're, again, acutely hazardous, right? And when we pinpoint it, when we understand it more, hopefully we could do something more about it. So you know, I just want to really give credit to One Bayview, who also shares a similar approach, you know, and strategy, taking
Right.
our skills and offering them to at this level. So I just have to give special highlight and gratitude for that. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to chime in a few things. For those of you who've never been to an Ivan meeting, so I shared a little bit earlier about the stuff that we were trying to do as far as air quality and not getting exactly what we need, and just not knowing. Like, not realizing that the fight is, okay, so for example, the fight with developers in this house is before they build. Because once they get that green light, the city of San Francisco doesn't have the facility to do much of anything, which we didn't know. We're like,
Right.
okay, our letter, our MOU with these folks, you know, you said it was going to be this level of particulars. Then we literally went to them and said, okay, so when are you testing?
Mm.
Planning department said, we don't do that. We're like,
Mm.
you should have told us at the very beginning, because we would have changed everything. So we went through this whole process, and then I went to an Ivan meeting like a long time ago, and I was like, this is hot. This is cool. Like, because she stood up in the room and said, no. When I called, they must be here. I was like, okay. And she called, and they were in the room. I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. So one of the reasons why I'm doing One Baby is so that more people can know about the good work that you folks are doing, so more people can take advantage of it. Like, I mean, it is so simple. I mean, look, it's even to the extent that I was actually in the meeting that you had maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and you're talking about the Ivan Network. And so just so you guys know, if you go to bayviewpollution.com or .org, it points to Ivan. Because I was like, sometimes people just need to know the simple things. And so we got together, just did that real quick, because what you're doing is we really want to support you. And it's just really, really powerful. And so for me, back to you, like, Delilah, so how many spaces are actually open on the steering committee? Is there like some places we can go to learn like how to like apply, and then the next question is, how will the 10 spaces be determined?
So there are 2 steering committee spots open. Our capacity is 5 residents, and we have 3, so we're looking for 2. In terms of how the sites are going to be decided, the steering committee will ultimately come with a vote. However, leading up to that vote, like I said, we want community input. We need to definitely figure out a little more of the science in terms of wind patterns, and because we don't want to have there's technicalities. You don't have an air monitor right next to a construction site, because depending on how the wind picks that PM up, it might completely blow over your air monitor. So, there's certain things that we have to figure there. Once we'll have all that, though, the steering committee will take all that information, process it, and we'll talk about it, and they'll ultimately come up with a vote for the 10 sites.
Awesome. So the commitment here at One Bayview is that we are going to keep in touch with these 3 amazing folks. And as more stuff sort of comes up, for example, I want to talk to them about, like, is there an email that we can share? And like, if we have more questions, is there?
Yes. Well, you can definitely get in contact with me. I'm the coordinator for the air monitoring project. So you can email me at dalila@greenaction.org. Again, dalila@greenaction.org. You can also call Green Action's phone number, which is, I had it, 415-447-3904 and 415-447-3904. I don't know about Michelle and Anthony. If you want people to contact you, you can definitely contact me. So that's how you do that.
So before I let you off the hook, though, please make the announcement. In August, you guys are doing the community forum. So do you have a date?
Yes. So the community forum will be August 24th. We are going to start at 9 a.m. We're still hashing out some details in terms of like where it'll be at, but I'll definitely put that out there once we figure that out. Hopefully we'll figure that out at this next steering committee, which is Tuesday. Also, the steering committee does meet every last Tuesday of the month. Right now, we've been meeting at 10 a.m. Either at Radio Africa or Ledge. If that doesn't work for folks, we can also talk about it. So yeah.
No, that's absolutely great. And I know for folks like me, so there's the Ivan Network. That's a resource. So literally, you can go in, like I showed a little bit earlier, to the website and just populate things in. Delilah was so great to give her information to someone. She has steering commissions open. Sorry, 2 positions on the steering committee open, and they're going to be deciding on the air monitors. And there's going to be a really great session at the end of the month. I got an ask, I think, for you, Delilah, is that if there's any piece of this that we can bring online, we would love to be a partner with you guys on that. Even if we do a series as part of the workshop, like maybe we break it into like 3 or 4 sessions, a bunch of people who could, who might not be able to make it. Please consider that a resource, because we're all about getting out to more people and more people and more people in various different ways. So with that, I think in closing, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to say one last thing that hasn't been said, or one last thing that you'd like people to know about. And we're going to start with Anthony.
Ooh, I like that. All right. Something that hasn't been said. Yeah. Well, we're hiring for another position within the project, which is very current, which is the technical assistant, in particular, the technician who would work on these, and we're actively hiring. We had a little cancellation last week, technical difficulties for Delilah, and we have one of our other steering committee. We were at the Bayview Library, all set up, ready to go, and things didn't go the way we wanted. But so we will be, we are still actively interviewing and hiring, hopefully this week. We have our steering committee. Just in maybe in parting is a word of gratitude to being that this is legacy work. We need to keep it timeless, and I appreciate the accountability of One Bayview. I really like the kind of 100-day like outlook on it, understanding like what do we want in 40 days, in 100 days. And I the ask on behalf of myself and for the greater, my colleagues here, my friends, my people, is hold us accountable. We want to report this. We want to share the information. We also want to be informed. So for show, we want to be back, and whether it's forum or maybe kind of we don't like to train people. We like to inform. We like to give education. You can hold me accountable for that. Delilah and Michelle have so much going on. I'll take one of those to hopefully provide something that's dynamic and not just giving updates, but maybe involving folks more. So that's what I'm like to say is I want to be held accountable to that. Maybe in 100 days or less, we could circle back up and see where we can give updates as well as share something new.
Sounds good. Delilah.
Yeah, so about the air technician position that Anthony touched on, it is basically to do maintenance on the air monitors once they're up. It is a pretty flexible position. We project that the hours would be like maybe 10 a week. So if any community residents are interested in doing that, we're still hiring. In terms of One Bayview, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me represent Green Action and talk about this work. It's a really important work, and thank you for giving your platform so that we can reach, community members that I haven't been able to reach. Yeah, that's about it. Hopefully we can keep in touch, Anietie.
Oh, absolutely. Without question.
We'll work on the community workshop. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Love it. And Michelle.
Wow. So closing out, I like Delilah and Anthony have said, I have a huge ask, which is if you can come out to these meetings, it is so important to hear from you, to hold us accountable, to make sure we're doing the kinds of things that you really want to see. And letting you know what else is going on around the neighborhood. As Anietie said, we actually on some levels do have direct access to the people who can make a change. Whether or not they will make a change depends on you guys showing up to this stuff rather than just Michelle yelling at them or Dalila or Anthony yelling at them, right? So I've been meeting, the Environmental Justice Task Force meetings are alternating 2 p.m. at Radio Africa every third Wednesday, or the next Wednesday will be at 5 p.m. at 1800 Oakdale. July's was at Radio Africa in the mid-afternoon, and so August meeting will be at 1800 Oakdale, the Southeast Community Facility, at 5 p.m. And we did that because the government agencies, it's easier for them to come out midday, and some of our residents, it's easier for them to come out midday before the kids get out of school. But the majority of us work, right? And so those evening meetings actually provide dinner for you, and you can come out and you can meet, and we have forced the government agencies to actually show up after hours and remain for the whole meeting. So it's an interesting forum. And you can get a chance to meet some of your neighbors and find out what they're doing, since a lot of people participate. And steering committee meetings, which are the final Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. Everything I do is open to any community member who stops in. So please take advantage. And I am always on the hook for community, as are my fellow guests today. So make sure you show up. Make sure you let us know what you need us advocating for on your behalf. Anything. If you want me to hold up the sky for you, show up and let me know.
Perfect. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this today. It was really informative, really great. I'm looking forward to sort of like the next steps. You know, I will go on record saying I want one by my house, but of course, you know, it's all part of the community. So really, really looking forward to everything that sort of is going to come forward like from this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.